Hello and welcome back to a new season. This is Karen, and I thought today, since it's still winter time, we would take a look at last year's gardens at my house in southeastern Pennsylvania, Zone 6. April's always a wonderful time of year. The weather starts to warm up, the buds start to open on plants, and we see the start of beautiful little flowers in the yard, in the grass. I love these little violets in my grass. They're so sweet. And then the azaleas start to bloom. I especially love azaleas because I used to live in North Carolina and they remind me of that. My lilac started out beautiful this year, but then it developed a fungus. Didn't end up really pretty. I had a stump I needed to get rid of or try to cover up somehow. Couldn't get rid of it, so I planted a bunch of stuff in it. My poppies started blooming early in the year. My mom always grew those, so I loved them. And then the white azaleas came in. Next was my lone peony, which turned out to be absolutely stunning. But I think they got too much sun, so I'll be moving them into a shadier location this year. The Oriental Poppies turned out to be really pretty. We have really good soil here, and everything that you put in the ground just really grows well. So by the time May rolled around, the snapdragons were absolutely stunning. They look like velvet, and they last about 2 years here, and then I have to replant. This Hydrangea is one of my favorite little shrubs. I love the variegated flowers. The lamb's ears look so pretty against the snapdragons, and this cute little spirea bush is just adorable. The bee balm was really good this year, and it did attract a lot of pollinators. The hollyhocks were gorgeous. The daylilies were really prolific and really pretty. The astilbe was gorgeous. And this little corner of the garden was really my favorite. It looked most like the cottage garden, which is the style that I'm going for. I had planted some extra daylilies last year, and I got to see them this year when they came up, and they were so pretty. This pink butterfly bush attracted a lot of pollinators, and I just really loved this particular corner of the yard. But by the time the fall rolled around, it was way too packed. So I had to transplant some things as it got later in the season. In July, things are at their peak and everything just looked lush and gorgeous. The daylilies certainly make a beautiful show while they're blooming, and I loved all these pretty colors. This pretty peach one was especially beautiful. I guess it would be apricot or yellow even. The butterfly weed was a big hit with the butterflies, which I was happy about, so I saved seeds from that. And I saved seeds from the echinacea and the phlox and the daisies. These hibiscus were beautiful, but the slugs or some kind of beetle got into them and stripped the stems, but the flowers were gorgeous. These giant yellow zinnias were really spectacular, and I saved a lot of seeds from them, so I'll be planting a bunch of those again this year. I filled in the stump with some soil and just planted a bunch of stuff in there. Over under a tree, I have some shade plants. And my forsythia got really tall. The stump garden was starting to take over and looking pretty good. I had some calendula, morning glories, and the big yellow zinnias there. I tried morning glory in a pot, but it never did bloom. The peonies, I think, got a little too much sun, so I'll be moving them. This lilac looked really pretty for most of the season, but it did not bloom either. These black-eyed Susans just took over, and they were stunning. Toward the end of summer, the daylilies were all gone, and things were starting to get a little baked. But the lantana was gorgeous. This is one of my favorite plants. This hydrangea was in too much sun, but it had some really pretty blooms. And the marigolds, nasturtiums, and zinnias were really amazing. This pink phlox was a lot prettier than I thought it would be. And this is a butterfly bush close up. These cute little snapdragons were some I got later in the season. And back to the stump garden, the morning glory is starting to take over. The pink butterfly bush doesn't have as lush blooms as the blue one does, but it's still really pretty. This Dusty Miller looked really nice, and even now in February, that is still out there. So it must be a perennial here. Those morning glories just absolutely took over and shrouded that stump, so it was a really good idea. These New Guinea impatiens were really pretty. And this is a close-up of one of the nasturtium blossoms, which were just gorgeous. Toward the fall, I started transplanting things and making plans to enlarge my garden bed. Every year I make it a little bit bigger. I transplanted some things out of the one corner to make it a little less packed in there. And so this year I'll be connecting these beds and enlarging all of them, and that'll be something that I will be videotaping as well. So something to look forward to this year. And here's our last view of the stump garden, now totally covered by the morning glories, and some of the giant zinnias are still poking through. So this is the last of the beds before winter started to come in. I trimmed things up, transplanted a lot of things, and I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe if you enjoy this type of content, and I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.